Welcome to the Fit for Business and Life podcast. It's brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Body Network, improving the performance and transforming busy, overweight professionals and their business owners, consultants, and their teams to become fitter, happier, and more confident. The Fit for Business and Life podcast is all about sharing passion, knowledge, and expertise around business and personal performance. From our host, myself, Martin Sharp, a 30-year change maker in businesses large and small, and Dominic Furness, a world traveller and life enthusiast, plus special guests sharing their know-how and experience in making changes in business along with themselves, featuring inspirational stories, insights, tips, and practical knowledge, bringing more healthier, happier, and higher achievement to your world.
Why not follow this podcast? We're live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. If you are watching this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We very much appreciate all of your support.
So sit back and enjoy this episode of the Fit for Business Life podcast, brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Body Network.
Well, I want to say howdy with that hat on, but just got back from Kilimanjaro. It's a bit of a different story to tell.
Yeah, the greeting should be Jumbo.
Jumbo.
Jumbo. Jumbo, Jumbo.
Yeah, that's it's a look.
It is definitely a look. I'll tell you one thing. Just this hat is just fantastic when you're out doing adventures. It keeps the sun off your head, sun off your neck, sun off your ears. Which, being a redhead, we are practically allergic to the sun.
For the audio listeners, it is ginger, and the hat is, how would you describe the hat? Like a tilly hat?
It is a tilly hat. Yes, it's
wide brimmed, keeping the sun off your ears and neck, etc.
Yeah, and I specifically got this style of one because for canoeing as well. So this is the water proof version. So it's great in the rain, and it also floats.
Well, I think you might need a different specific style to wear the headset, to be honest.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work with the headset. It works better without the headphones. We've got to have a bit of fun with this as well.
That's quite something. But yeah, we're here. You're back from Africa, back from Tanzania, back from Kilimanjaro. So we just thought we'd do I call it a mini series, but it's going to be a 6-parter, isn't it, of your experience there?
Yeah, we're going to do this as a specific season all about Kilimanjaro. And again, we're going to go through the same things as before. So we're looking at the kind of the mind, how that's been supportive, the meals, how that's supportive, the movement, the moderation, the monitoring, and obviously the method of how we got there. So we'll start things off with mind, I think.
Yeah, as with all episode ones. Maybe one day we'll go in reverse, but yeah. Mindset. So we had our podcast before talking about how you felt in the preparation to it, like if you felt you'd done enough and if you were feeling ready. And now it has been achieved. We'll just quickly reflect on that episode, I suppose.
Yeah,
the mindset side of things.
So from a mind point of view, yeah, definitely, I've definitely done enough. And same with the movement and the meals and things. So I think a lot of the preparation I've done around not only the marathon training, but also then getting myself out into the British Hills has really kind of paid dividends, because we did obviously the 3 Peaks Challenge, the National 3 Peaks Challenge, the Yorkshire 3 Peaks Challenge, the Welsh 3 Peaks Challenge, the Surrey 3 Peaks Challenge, plus a variety of walks up in the Lake District and things, and other hills in Wales. So as far as getting miles under the legs and trying to get used to the idea of the ascents, I think that part of it, absolutely 100%. It was dialed in, as you would say.
Yeah.
And using the equipment. So again, making sure that I was used to the amount that I would be carrying each day. Everything just went like clockwork from that perspective.
Yeah, I imagine all that training really did help. And I've been discussing that with people while he's up there. It's like before the marathons when that kicked all this off, like you wouldn't have been in a position to be able to do this, I don't think, anyway. But then, yeah, like doing the most recent runs, like you ran the Caldell Horseshoe, which is giving you a bit of that similar terrain, and by that I mean a little bit like rocky underfoot and the steeper inclines rather than it just being flat. Obviously, you can't prepare for those 4 or 5 climates on that walk.
Yeah,
like we don't have them in the UK, but like what you've been doing has definitely given you like a foot up the ladder. And I'm sure, like from a mindset perspective, like knowing that you can do that here in this country, like will definitely really helps you feel a lot more confident. I know that you were worried about the altitude sickness previously, is what we're talking about, and we'll discuss it a bit later, but it turns out that did kind of come back to bite a bit, didn't it? But yeah, like overall, I think everything they've been doing will have really helped your mindset, and I hope you agree.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think just breaking it back down, so going back to the beginning where you're saying that if before doing the marathons, I wouldn't have been able to do this, I think you probably are right. I mean, whilst before marathons, we were still doing hill walking as a family. We'd still kind of do 1,000 meters of ascent wouldn't have been an issue for a day's hike for us, or going out and doing maybe 30, 40 kilometers as a day's hike. That wasn't a problem. And I think the issue would have been having it over such a long period of time. Because again, you're walking consistently for 7 days.
So like the recovery time, like you could do the day out, but then you'd go to bed and be a bit like, I don't know what the word is, but the next day you'd be feeling it.
Yeah,
Whereas like
absolutely.
through all this, like you've learned to run on tired legs, like that was part of your training. And like through doing that, you then knew when you're on that mountain, like in your own head that you are capable, like take away the altitude, which is basically the only problem there.
Yep.
You knew that you'd be capable of, even if your legs were tired, you could still walk on them, push through without injury. And having that knowledge must have made you feel more at ease.
It did, and I think even kind of dialing things back a bit, because obviously the big change over the last couple of years has been working on the endurance, working on my cardiovascular fitness. So that's kind of been one of the biggest kind of switches over. And I think for some people, they equate it as being when you get the cardiovascular, right, that's what's going to help you be able to survive longer, live longer, live better in that kind of respect. But prior to that, the 3 years prior to that, where I was actually doing a lot of the weight training, I'm still doing weight training now. That's kind of given me that extra bit that actually means that when I'm doing this kind of event, I'm not just surviving through it, I'm actually thriving through it, because I've got the muscles behind me. I've got that kind of capability of doing that. So I can't say it's just been a case of doing the marathons that's kind of helped be able to do this, but I think it's the combination of the endurance training, strength and conditioning training, along with that flexibility element as well. And one thing we found when we're on the mountain is actually to keep ourselves being flexible. And this kind of isn't just a case of, okay, thinking about this purely from a movement point of view, a physiological point of view, but also from a mental point of view. Because when you've done a really hard day's hike, you've done like the 10 kilometers, the 17 kilometers, you've gone like 1,000 meters of ascent, etc. Some of the days, for example, was almost like feeling like you were on steps for the best part of 8 hours.
Mhm.
Being able to get to camp, have that kind of reset. So the guys were great anyway. So they kind of had that ritual where you'd come into camp, they would like help clean your shoes off, etc., give you cups of tea and things. You'd be able to settle down and rest and things. But then being able to just get that like stretching in as well, it meant that you'd finish the day and you could then start to think about actually relaxing and resting for the night. It's
And
almost like a nice ritual to finish it all off with.
and do you think that like that ritual helped you with your mindset overall? Like, knowing that when, like, even if the day is hard, once you get to camp, these people will be there to help you out, make you a cup of tea, like, sort your shoes out, like all those things. Do you think, like, knowing that that was at the end of the day helped in any way? Like, if that was taken away, do you think it might have been, not saying you couldn't do it without that, but do you think it did add a little bit of mental boost?
I think it does, definitely. A bit like, for example, when we got into camp, we always tried to get to camp when it was light. And sometimes we would only have about, 10, 15 minutes of daylight left. And when you're at the equator, the one thing I hadn't kind of realized is the time between being daylight and nighttime is only about 10, 15
So it's a
minutes.
real sharp
It's
cut
a
off.
really sharp cutoff, and then it's like pitch black. So getting with like 10 minutes to spare meant you had time to like do this little decompression for your own mental state as well as your physical state, and also get the tent set up ready for sleeping. So you'd get your sleeping bag laid out, you'd lay out all your clothes, etc., that you need for the evening, then the morning, and just being in that kind of prepared state meant that you could relax.
Yeah, like the routine preparation, I
Mhm.
can see been like, as with anything, like it's just good if you have a bit of a routine, it makes you feel more at ease. And then
Yeah,
I say if you're like everything's ready, you've done everything at daylight, everything is, you're feeling prepared for the next day,
yeah.
then you're ready to go. I can imagine that does help a
and, y-
lot.
and you're not kind of grasping around inside the darkness just to
Mhm.
find what's kind of going on. So yeah, I mean that definitely has a big change in the mindset. But then if we go back a bit further, so for example, the pre 2019 days, we were still doing hikes and stuff as a family, but I think the way I was at that point in time, I don't think I had the same mental stamina and resilience as I do today. I think the going through the whole weight loss part for myself, so the fat loss, going through the muscle building, going through the endurance training, going through and actually doing the marathons, kind of, it's, I mean, the resilience has obviously been there, and we've seen that, for example, on how I've delivered projects before in the past for some amazing organizations. But I think actually seeing that resilience tie into that physicality as well, I think that kind of really helps because then when things started to get hard, I could just tap into it. It was there. It was instantaneously available.
Yeah. So like the past has helped the present, basically. Like all the challenges you faced before, like you've climbed other mountains in a different, like just in a metaphorical sense. Like as you say, like I don't know, maybe if someone pitched this to you when you were 20, you could probably do it. But then like, you know, you got to the point of being like too overweight. You could not have done this in like 2014. Like you
Yeah.
could not have done it. And then like you've didn't have this in your mind at all, but then you went through the very hard transformation of like losing the fat, like naturally,
Hmm.
I guess. And then like setting the crazy big hairy audacious goal of doing the triple marathons, which I think as a baseline is quite crazy. So like especially since you've had that and then like obviously this. So then when you do find those things of like this is hard. I'm not saying you're ever there like because I know they say like this is hard, I want to give up. Like I don't feel like you'd ever have that in your head that you want to give up. Like those words I don't think would go through your mind, but I'm sure there were challenging points of the trip where it seemed like it was much more difficult than you maybe anticipated. But like being able to reflect and, as you said, like tap into those past moments of feeling the same has probably definitely been very helpful up there.
Well, I think let's address the elephant in the room then, and let's talk about summit night.
Yes.
Because you kind of gave that nice little hint at the beginning with regards to high altitude and an altitude sickness. So let's kind of just dive straight into that bad boy.
Yeah. So to set the scene, I suppose this is like it's day 5, but you already did the day 5 trek, and then a napping camp, right? And then on the evening, you went for the summit, which is where the altitude hit you at 5,000 and
5,550 meters.
yep.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's you're really excited. I mean, you've just done 5 days of trekking. I mean, the Friday trek was a smaller one. It was only about 5 kilometers. I think we climbed around about 600 meters in the ascent. So again, it's not a huge amount to do. And then got us to camp, and it was relaxing in there, having a bit of lunch, getting water for washing. So always a case of being clean.
And how
Um,
did you feel it? So to cut the story short, you basically suffered quite severe altitude sickness, which led to sort of like blacking out and like a bit of memory loss. And the guides helped you, which we'll talk about in a second. But just like set that a bit. Like, how did you feel at the point of being in this camp before? So, how many meters was this camp?
so when we were in the camp, we were
5,300.
no, it's 4,600 meters.
And what's this camp called?
It's Barafu camp.
So, Barafu camp. How are you feeling in terms of altitude?
Really excited. I was fine. So the first day, I kind of ended up with a bit of an upset stomach. When we were climbing up and we got up to altitude. So anything above like 2,800 meters is high altitude.
Okay.
And we knew that this was one of the potential symptoms that you could have. You could have coughing, sickness, nausea, headaches, dizziness, diarrhea. All these things we already understood. And again, Pat leading us through that and gave us some really good, vivid descriptions of what might happen to some other people, how you could combat that, how being alert to it and actually picking up on those early symptoms is important. So I already gone through that on the first day. So by the time we'd got to second day 2, I'd got over that because I took all the various different medications, made sure that was okay. So into day 5, I was feeling just fantastic. My body had adjusted. I'd been looking at all of the gadgets and gizmos, like the reports from the watch and the ring, and it was all telling me my body is absolutely at peak performance right now. It had been rested. Everything was just pointing to this being the perfect time to do it, so it's great. My oxygen saturation was good, so like 96%. My heart rate was coming down. So on the first couple of days, my heart rate was quite high on the night. We'll talk more about that in the monitoring episode. But everything was just absolutely in the prime position. So at this point in time, on the Friday, by Friday lunchtime, I was just feeling on top of the world. So we had a bit of lunch, grabbed a bit of sleep, worked back up for some an early dinner, finished off the evening meal, and then from there went and tried to get some more sleep. But to be honest with you, sleep really you just don't get it. You're so excited at this point in time, and possibly a little bit apprehensive because this is the moment. you've got an entire team. We had a team of 42 people that were basically helping us get to the summit. And, they've done everything they can to make sure you've got there, you've acclimatized, you're rested, you're ready effectively to make this final push. And there's only 12 of us then going to make it onto the summit. So you kind of had that kind of feeling of I don't want to let them down either.
Mhm.
So you've kind of got a lot of focus, a lot of kind of pressure in some respects. Most of it is of your own making, but it's all in your own head. But it's all kind of there. So it meant that sleep was elusive on that after dinner moment. And then obviously 10 o'clock, we all get woke up. And this is the time to start to summit.
So you're going from Barafu Camp
Yep.
up to Yahura Peak?
Uhura Peak, that's correct. Via
Right.
Stella Point.
Right. Take it away with your altitude story.
Yeah. So yeah, the trek from Barafu Camp up to 5,550 meters was no problem. It was just a gentle kind of plod. It's all the whole pace of it is slow, pole pole. You drink often, you have a stop every hour, and you just make that gentle progress up the mountain. It's not about rushing. It's not about like getting there in a really fast time. And in fact, one of the things God Living, one of the lead guide said was, if people want to rush past you, just let them rush past you. It's up to them as the pace they want to go, and some of them will make it to the top, others won't. But the thing was, he was confident we would all make it to the top because we were taking this nice, steady pace, and that confidence that he has and that conviction in exactly what's going on, I mean, it's been grounded in hundreds and hundreds of treks up to the top of this mountain. So he knows what he's talking about. And that level of confidence kind of oozes out into everybody else. So all of a sudden you become a lot more confident because of that. You're working with people that know this terrain, that know this mountain. So from a mental standpoint, that is such a great like crutch to have. You can kind of lean on that when things start to get a bit tough. And at 5,550 meters, which is the entirety of the mountain is 5,895 meters. So we're pretty much within that last 300-meter stretch. I did start to go a bit dizzy, and I chatted to one of the other walkers, Brian, and just said, I feel drowsy, I feel really tired, I feel dizzy. Um, and he started to recognize some of those symptoms. He says he thinks you've got. He said, "I think you've got altitude sickness." So I was like, "Okay." He says, "Are you on Diamox?" No, I'm not on Diamox.
Right. Okay.
So Diamox is like a tablet you take. It increases the amount of carbon dioxide that your body can have. It's a bit of a diuretic as well. And the idea being is it can help with some of those altitude sickness feelings. I mean, when you look at the studies, some people say it works, some people say it doesn't work.
And is this something you should take in preemption for it, or do you take it, I'm guessing, as you're about to do at the time? Like, where does it work best?
It's either really. So again, it depends on where you start to have your symptoms. I think probably the next time I do high altitude, I might take it as a prophylactic, so that effectively I've got it already in the system, and seeing if that can actually help with my high altitude piece. And again, doing more high altitude training will get my body more and more used to it. So just because I've had the sickness starting at 5,550 meters here doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the same on the next mountain we do.
Mhm.
Um, so then that was a case. Yeah, just took the Diamox. We started to continue to wander up, and I was finding that as you're walking up the mountain, it was just the symptoms just getting worse, getting more and more dizzy, to the point where I had to stop. And it's not a long pause. You only need like 30 seconds, maybe a minute, but just long enough you kind of gather yourself back together. You feel great again after you've had that pause, and then you start to walk up the mountain again. And we got to the point of about 7 minutes away from Stella Point, is what God Living said. When he just says, "Come on, we just push for another 7 minutes. You can do this for another 7 minutes." And I that's the point where I started to lose kind of consciousness. So I got to up
So
to Stella.
crazy.
It is, and it's the most weird and surreal experience, and I've got no better words to describe it, because we got to Stella Point, and I've got no memory of how I made that last few meters. I remember waking up at Stella Point, almost slumped against a piece of rock, and just looking out at what was starting to be a glorious sunset. It was sunrise, sorry. This kind of line that was appearing of like reds and oranges and blues, and then I started to come to and just realized I was in this kind of heap And the guys had kindly kind of brought me and helped me to sit down in this position. And it was Fergus who turned around to me and said that he thought that I was going to fall off the mountain. He says, literally, all that happened was I looked like I was going to topple over backwards. And if I toppled over backwards where I was at top of Stella Point, I would have fallen down the mountain. And he says,
Wow.
you just instantaneously just spun on the spot and then sat down. And he said he'd never seen anything quite like it. And then the real hard bit came because God living came to me and said, you just, whatever you do, don't sleep. Keep moving, don't sleep. That was his kind of his statement to me. And Emmanuel, which was another one of the guides, he came and like, took my arm and was walking with me for the rest of it. But from Stella Point, which is 5,700 odd meters, up to the top at Hura Peak, every few steps, the symptoms were getting worse. And I knew that I had to take those steps. And I knew that if I continued to take those steps, I would black out and I would lose control of my body and I would fall to the ground.
If you didn't take those steps.
If I didn't take those steps, I'd be perfectly okay. Yeah. But every time I took those steps, I knew eventually the number of steps would increase and I would end up.
Oh, so there'd be like a limit.
Yeah.
Where you could do no more.
Yeah. And that might be 10 meters, 5 meters, 7 meters. It wasn't a huge amount. So given the fact we had like 100 meters to go to get to the summit and being in this state, it was really hard going. And, it's tough because, you're putting yourself into this position and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do it. I can make it happen. But, the guides were great, God Living, Emmanuel, Abel, Pat, etc. And James, they did all the tests on me. They wanted to make sure I was perfectly okay before they proceeded and let me try to get to the summit. So my oxygen saturation was 94%. My heart rate was 106 beats a minute, which isn't that high. When I was lucid, so when I'd actually stayed still for it's like half a minute to a minute, my reactions were good. My ability to be able to coordinate things was good. My speech was good. So from what they saw physiologically, I could do this. So this was literally a mind game to get from.
So what causes your mind to shut down during this period of altitude if your body is like, okay, like if your body's got the oxygen it requires, your heart's pumping still, why does it bring you to the point of blacking out?
Because it is the altitude sickness and it affects people in different ways. So this one just affected me in that specific way.
Because the other day we had a short conversation about me trying to like draw some parallels with blackout drunkenness on this, with the understanding that it's two completely different things. But I was just trying to understand it with, I suppose, a metaphor and the fact that like the parts of your brain are shutting down and you're blacking out. But then this is making it sound even similar. So because in a state of like total blackout drunkenness, your heart's still beating, your oxygen's still probably fine, but your mind is completely gone. So it's like I know I understand it's not the same thing, but like it sounded like it's causing similar effects neurologically.
Well, it isn't. It's a completely different set of effects, and I think you've already hinted at that. One's chemically induced, the other one's actually induced by the altitude and air pressure, etc., that you've got around you. So both of them are different causes, and
different causes. But I'm saying similar symptoms.
Well, from the outside, it might appear like similar symptoms, but I think the difference being is, when you're blind drunk, until the chemicals have kind of gone through your body, you're still blind drunk. You'll still be blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with altitude sickness, certainly the way I experienced it, as soon as you stop trying to move up, the symptoms go away.
So it's just time. So you just need time.
Yeah.
So what would have happened if you did 1 meter every 1 hour? Do you think you'd feel less ill?
Possibly. I mean, it could have been that if we'd gone that little bit slower, that might have worked. It could have been that if we'd stayed an hour, maybe at 5,500 meters or at 5,800, well, 5,600 meters. I don't know. It might have made it that little bit better. But again, these are things that are probably to experiment on another occasion. Certainly on that one, it wasn't something we tried to do. But the key thing here is from a mental point of view, a mindset point of view, knowing that the next steps are going to make that happen. You have to have a lot of resilience. You have to have.
You're making it worse for yourself.
Exactly. So you're putting yourself almost into pain as you're going through this, and that's a really weird place to be. And then again, having a team around you that you can truly trust. When I was chatting to Sarah about it, the one thing she says, it's a bit like one of those trust exercises you go on with the corporate away day type things where you've got to lean backwards and someone's got to catch you. Apart from this one, you're at the top of a mountain, you lean backward too much, you're going to fall down it.
Yeah.
So you've got to have some absolute trust in the people around you, really trust the crew that you've gone with.
Yeah. And then, so by the time you made it to the top, and if anyone's seen the pictures, if you haven't, it's on the Facebook and Instagram, etc. Have you holding your Sharp Fit flag and the Yorkshire Rose up there? Like, I have two questions. Like, one, do you have any recollection of that specific moment? And if so, is it as vivid as that sunset was that you described? And also, how did you feel, if you could remember it at that moment?
So, yes, the quick answer is yes. I do have some memories of those because once we kind of got to the top, Emmanuel got me to sit down for a little bit and just stay still for about 5 minutes. And then once that had happened, everything became clear. And then because I wasn't trying to go any higher, because you couldn't, I mean, we were at the top at this point.
Unless you climbed the cairn.
Well, there was, yeah.
Or it's not a cross, is it? The wooden.
It's a sign, yeah.
The wooden sign, yeah.
Yeah, so you're not going to climb that. That would be very disrespectful. But yeah, because you can't go any higher, that was it. Everything just came back together. And then, it just started to act normal. It was, again, this is why it felt so weird and surreal. All the way up that mountain, I just couldn't at all control what was going on. And then as soon as we got to the top and we stopped and everything was okay, it was like happy days.
And then going down, I guess it only got better.
Exactly, got better, got stronger, got more lucid. So yeah, I can remember holding the flags there. I remember drinking the champagne to celebrate Alan and Brenda's honeymoon and their wedding. I remember Patsy hitting the slitter as well, so that was cool. So he's got the highest puck fadder in Africa, and I think Pat actually holds the record for the highest puck fodder in the world because he did Everest. So,
and what's a puck fodder?
This is a really good question. I had to learn this as well. So hurley is an Irish game, so it's one of the Gaelic games, and it's where you hit the ball as far as you can, usually uphill. And the events they usually have is where it sounds a bit like golf. It's the lowest number of hits to get to the top of the hill.
Oh, okay.
So this one was the highest hit off the hill in Africa.
Right, got you.
So yeah, it was really quite interesting. So yeah, I've got all those kind of great memories. Then coming down, I remember seeing the glaciers, the crater, seeing out over the plains of Africa. All of that lot as clear as day.
Well, that's amazing. So it's worth it for the journey down, really. Then you can take it all in, like feeling better and better of each. Because before, I guess each step was harder, and you was having to use your mind to be like, okay, like one more step's going to get worse for me and worse for me and worse for me. Then luckily, you had the right people around you that got you to stop, appreciate it. But then going back down, it's like every step, everything gets clearer and clearer and clearer, and you can. I mean, it did sound like it swallowed sand when you were breathing afterwards. But I imagine for you, from your perspective at that time, it felt incredible to be able to breathe that well at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I say, from an altitude sickness point of view, it does affect different people in different ways. So from about day 3 onwards, I kind of lost my voice. So it did get incredibly gravelly all the way up. One of the other guys in the party, one of his eyes just basically became very...
like bloodshot?
Watery.
Right.
And very sore. And he got to the point where he couldn't really see out of it. It was just that sore. But again, as the heat came down the mountain, that kind of dissipated. Again, other people suffering from really bad headaches, dizziness, etc. But as they came down the mountain, it all dissipates instantaneously. So the altitude sickness part of it is very interesting how it affects different people in different ways.
And would you say it affected? I mean, I'm guessing like you was aware of it, we were expecting it to feel like this, because even when you're describing it, I can't like really imagine it too well. Like I would say, like I have like similar symptoms when I'm scuba diving. Really, I hate it. Like I just cannot adjust to the pressure. But it will still be a different feeling that I can't quite comprehend. So like I know you're prepared for it, but then when it hit, I guess there's nothing you can do in the moment but firm it. But it sounds like it was perhaps, I don't want to say worse, but just different to what you was expecting.
I didn't know what to expect with it, so I obviously read all the various different bits,
and that is what you're most nervous about. And now I understand it's like the fear of the unknown.
Yeah,
because you just don't know.
Yeah, being in that position, I could have taken the easy way out. I could have asked for oxygen at that point in time. I could have asked to be escorted down the mountain.
Oh, so they do carry oxygen?
Yeah, yeah. So as soon as you go on the oxygen, you have to be taken down the mountain. That's
Right,
the
okay.
kind of,
The
there's
rule.
there's no kind of continuing up at that point in time. But I was with a good team. We knew that physiologically I was okay. This literally was just a couple of 100 meters of battling through those symptoms, and that's where again you can just see the kind of character you have.
Yeah, that's amazing, like, that you could battle through that.
Yeah. So there you go. For a mindset point of view,
Yeah, pretty
it's
resilient.
interesting. So yeah, showing for example how the simple things, going through the fat loss, etc. It's the same kind of thing. You have all those moments of potential weakness where you could just say, I'm not going to do the exercise, I'm not going to eat well for my body. But when you don't, when you actually do eat well, and when you do the exercise, then actually you start to get results. With the marathon training, the same thing. If you remember back when I was doing the triple marathon, the Leeds marathon one, I got to the Chevin, which was what, 3/4 the way around, and everything just started to really close in. The
Just hit the
whole
wall.
dark feelings hit the wall, the blackness, everything, and knowing that actually no, I need to do this. This is something that's really important. Again, it gives you that clarity because you've got that really clear goal focus, what it is that you want to do, why it is that you're doing it, and then stack those reasons behind it. So it's not just a case of I want to do it because I want to do a marathon. It was I want to do it because I'm doing it for Teenage Cancer Trust. I want to do it because I want to, show you guys that you can do things, all right, as
Yeah.
my family, and then also inspire other people to see that actually, even if you have been overweight, even if you have been in a very sedentary job, you don't have to take that as being the only answer. So when you've kind of got those nice goals stacked with you, just like doing Kilimanjaro, I was there, I got the right team in it, but it's the same thing. I wanted to prove that yes, you can get to the top of the mountain, even if it's the first time you've ever done high altitude, and you can stand on the highest freestanding mountain in the world.
Which is awesome, like, you reap the rewards from the effort you put in.
Exactly. Yeah, spot
Yeah,
on.
and you can intrinsically, like, keep that glory, like, no one's taking that away from you.
No, that is definitely one that I've earned.
Amazing. Well, yeah, well done for that, and that was a good episode on mindset after Kilimanjaro.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And a big thank you for taking the time out to listen to this episode of the Fit Business Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Body Network, helping professionals and their teams become healthier, happier, and higher achieving in business and in life. If you'd like to join us as a guest or get in touch to know more about the topic covered, then we'd love to hear from you. Simply email hello@sharpfitforlife.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Fit for Business Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is produced and presented by Wax Tie Limited. Copyright is obliged.